Hi everybody, my name is Mark Everett and welcome back to the Block Factory. Now in this video what I'd like to do is I'm actually making a recap video of an old video that I had done back in 2011 on a YouTube, and what I felt like I needed to do, because I'm constantly changing and updating these blocks, I felt like I needed to create a new video showing you how I have placed the blocks on the tool palette so that I can have them organized and have them at my fingertips, so that I figured I could show you with the cabinet blocks category how I have done that. And the ones that I'm not using on a regular basis, I just leave them in the folder, and as I need them I open those folders and those drawings within the folders and copy and paste those files from there into the present drawing that I'm in. So with that being said, let's jump into AutoCAD. Okay, we are now in the cabinet blocks categories of blocks that I have in the Block Factory, and I'll just run through them real quick, and then we'll go into model space and I'll show you how I have applied these blocks to the tool palette. Now there are many different ways to attach blocks to the tool palette or create the list of blocks that are on the tool palette through the design center, or the method that I use, or by going through some other methods. I am just going to concentrate on how I do it so that you can see how I have mine set up. It's a little bit of time involved in applying these blocks to the tool palette, but I just feel like it gives me more control over how they're presented. So with that being said, the first category that we're in here is the wall cabinets category, and there are two different folders of those. So I'm just going to show you the paper space version of these, and I have done this actually in another video describing or breaking down the different groups of blocks that are in the Block Factory. This here is the base cabinet with the drawers, and are 2 pages of those, and then you have the base cabinets that are open, and there's only 1 page of those, and then there are the base cabinets that are sinks, and then there are these are the standard base cabinets here, in both, there are 2 pages of those, but both in the standard plastic laminate or flat panel doors, and then there's some raised panel ones in here also. And then some support legs and end panels and fillers. Then we have the face frame category of blocks here, that basically, and there are, looks like there's 2 different pages. I'm not sure why that's listed that way. I have to go back and fix that at some point here. The finger pull cabinet blocks, these are the cabinets that have, basically if I zoom in here, there's a 1-inch slot between the drawer and the underside of the counter, and then between the drawer and the door. That would be like a 45-degree beveled edge, or maybe even a scooped out the back edge of the top of the door or drawer fronts, so that you could just reach in through that space and pull that door or drawer opening or opened. So let me zoom back out here. And the next one is the tall cabinets here, and there are some open and some closed door tall cabinets here. And then also there are, in this particular category, what I've done is created some different countertop blocks that basically allow you to just start drawing by pulling these countertop blocks into the drawing, and there are the same block in both plan and elevation here. And then lastly, what I have as part of the cabinet blocks is the cabinet pull block that occurs in the elevations. And this is a block that's stored within those blocks, and I have a separate video that describes how these cabinet pulls can be updated adding new cabinet pulls to them as you build on your own library. So with that being said, let's go back to the wall cabinets and let's go over to model space. Now, you can see how I have them organized. If you ever have watched the old video here, I wasn't as organized as I have been more recently. So I've done a lot of cleaning up and organizing of these blocks since then. And if I go to my tool palette and I go down, you can see how I start from symbols, and I have them broken down into multiple different groups because for the different categories that I had, it became too much for one tab to handle. So what I did was broke them down into 4 different categories here. And then I also have my wall lines and wall hatches under this one thing, and then wall section parts. And then I have some different wall types, some wall cabinets, both in elevation, the fillers, and 2 different types of fillers, one standard box and then one with an apron underneath, and then some shown above, both in a straight line, an L shape, a U shape, and then a corner cabinet. And then I have some open wall cabinets that follow down here, which are right here on this side. So the way that I have done this, and as I said previously in the beginning part of this video, is there are many different ways to put these or apply these blocks to the tool palette, but as you can see, I have mine fairly organized here, and I want to be able to have them organized in a way that I know how to. So it may be different for you, but I just know that if I have them in some sort of order, I can understand where they are. And as I also said in the earlier part of the video, is that I don't have all my blocks on the tool palette. Some of them are so small when you put them on the tool palette, even at the largest scale, you just can't understand them. And if it's something that basically the elevations are pretty much the same from company to company, whereas sections might change. So it would be pointless for me to put everybody's sections on there and then have to remember them all. So it's just easier to open up the folder and copy and paste them. But to put this WC1 block or any block onto the tool palette, you just take this block, you select it with your left button of your mouse, press down, and drag it over to the tool palette. And I'm going to place it here to the left of this block here. And then you can see that blue line, and that just indicates that it's going to be placed there on the left-hand side. And I can place this anywhere, but I'm going to place it right here just to indicate this. Now it takes a couple seconds to apply itself to the tool palette. But once it does, then you have them all organized in this way. So let's give it a second. All right, so you can see, what that takes. Now it's already here. So what I'd also like to do is if I right click here, I can go to, let's see here, update. Let me right click here and view options. Now you'll see that I have it set to view at its highest. If you can see, if I put it down to the lowest, you can barely see it. So I have it set to the highest, and I have it set to icon with text. So I want to see the icon, but I also want to see the text. So if I go back over to the tool palette, you'll see that it has the WC1 and it has the image. Now, there are ways to customize this. I don't have to keep the name that is associated with it. I could right click here and just rename it. If I had several different ones, let's just say for instance I had a 12-inch cabinet that I used on a regular basis and I had an 18, I could just make a copy of it or do what I just did here is apply another one to the tool palette. But then I can also go in and go to the properties and say for instance in the cabinet, let me see here where the cabinet width is. yeah, the cabinet width here, this is a 12 inch. This one here is a 12 inch already as a standard because that's how I created it at its lowest form. Obviously, you can change that to a 9 or a 10 or whatever, but more realistically speaking, I base these off of 2-inch increments. So if I wanted to make this a 15-inch cabinet, 15-inch wide cabinet, and let's just say we'll make this 36 inches. So now the difference between, after we make that change, give it a second here for it to update. You'll notice that when I go and I select it, it's slightly wider. I don't know why that came in here. If I go and I want to insert this, let's go to my samples drawing here for this demo, so I'm not pulling it into the present drawing. And let's say, for instance, I wanted to pull this cabinet in. You'll notice that when I select it, actually, you'll notice the text is too small here. So I need to be in 1:16, which is the 3/4 inch equals a foot scale. Now when I bring that block in, the text comes in at the appropriate size. And that's something to keep in mind also. I have these blocks developed to come in to or be presented in a 3/4 inch, 1:16. I want to be specific about that. If you bring it in as 3/4 inch equals a foot, that text will not show up because you'd have to go into the block, open that block, and then apply that particular scale to it. But these are all set up for 1:16. So, but if I go and I look at it, it says 15 by 36, whereas my original block, when I bring it in, is, I'll just stick it to the left-hand side or right-hand side of that. You'll notice this one here is 12 by 30. So that gives you an idea of how you can customize this so that if there's something that you use, in this case here, a specific size cabinet that you use, you can customize it so that, and then maybe rename it, say, in this case here, wall cabinet 15 by 36 or WC1 15 by 36, and then that way you could just keep bringing that in rather than having to bring it in, resize it, do whatever you needed to do. So I'm going to get rid of that block. I don't really need it on my tool palette. I'm going to erase this here. There are plenty of videos of showing that I've created to show you how to use these cabinet blocks and how I've actually created a video showing you the samples drawing, which is what I'm in here right now. So if you have any questions or you want any additional videos, that I can send you a link to those videos. So hopefully that's helpful. And if you have any questions, you want to email me at theblockfactory.e2d@gmail.com. That is theblockfactory.e2d@gmail.com. See you on the next video.